Let's see if it's working. It says an excellent condition. Is it an excellent condition? I don't know. I changed some settings and let's hope it actually works this time. It looks like it's working. Looks like it's working. All right. Anyways, what's up, guys? It is Ted back here with Bodies and Wicks. The thing cut off my video and it said that there was encoding error overload or some crap like that. So I looked up some different ways to fix it, and I think I figured out how to fix it. I had to turn my well, I didn't turn, well, no, actually, I just kind of changed my webcam settings. That's about all I did. Hopefully all the other settings are good enough for you guys to read, but I think the settings are now to where I do not have to worry about encoder overload. So let's get back to where we were, shall we? And where we were was pretty interesting. So anyways, what I was talking about was Ethereum and having, you know, kind of a price reaction to a specific point. So as we are looking at this Ethereum, right, and we talked about you know, where to draw your fib, right, and where to expect where some smart money would expect it to go, right. So again, from here to here, right, you got smart money knowing it's going to get back down to at least almost the 70.5, right, and then on the return back down, well, once it's up here, right, on the return back down, you kind of flip it the other way, right, that way they know when to sell. And then I'll just drop it off here and put it right here. That way when you look at this, right, they're looking at that same area. So it dropped down, right, and then, oops, I didn't mean to grab that. Drop down, right, whenever it pushed back up into that 70.5, 80% area, and then boom, smart money decided to push it down, right, and then got to that 70.5 level, right, to where they rebought back in and they pushed it up, and now they sold at a specific level, and I'll tell you how. And they sold at that level to where it last pushed up, right. So that last push up is going to be your sell level, right. The reason that's going to be your sell level is because that's where they last pushed up, so they're holding that sell. If you watch my previous video, I'll show you all about it. I'll give you kind of a basic concept again. What you do is you go long, right here, and what you're gonna, since you have a ton of money, right, you hold on to that long, right, because you can, because you have all the money in the world, because you're an institution that can do that, because you push it up, right, and you push it up just enough to where all of a sudden you start packing in, you know, you lay on little bits of contracts here, here, and here, and then you get the people to start buying, and then by the time you put in a sell, right, you're going to unload everything in on that sell, and that sell's already going to go past, you know, where you had entered in the first place, so you can't exit the trade, right. So what you have to do as an institution is hold this until it gets back up to this level, right. So that's what they have to do, is they have to hold this trade until it gets back up into that level, and then once they get back up into that level, which is right here, right, the bear shorter block, then they let go of that trade, and then what they do is they enter into another short position, right. They'll enter into a short position right here. Now, where do they know where it's going to go from this short position? That is a good question. Because now where you're at, and especially if you look at this, if you actually pull this down here, it's back up into that 70.579 area, right? So it's back up into that area, right? I'm going to do a really quick check just to make sure that stream is going well. Yeah, says it's in excellent condition. Okay, cool. All right, so now that it's back up and it's going well, now that they've entered into that cell, how do they know where it is going to stop and then retrace back up? Again, I always talk about the last, down push before it goes back up. In a 4-hour setting, it's kind of hard to tell. Here, you could call this your last down push before it goes back up. But then again, you're also going kind of sideways here, right? You're going sideways here. It's really not really a down push, because considering there's a lot of that going on within this 4-hour area. So there's a lot of up, and then there's a lot of down, and then there's not really a just candle. Now, if this 4-hour candle was going to engulf both of these candles, then I would say yes, this would be an area I would look for. But instead, I would be looking at, this red candle here, right? And the reason being is because these candles here, right, after these took off, definitely engulfed this red candle. These 3 candles right here could be considered basically one candle, considering none of the wicks got outside of the bodies of each of the other wicks, or none of the wicks got outside of the bodies or of the other wicks. So basically what I'm saying is that this one didn't wick up here and then pull back down. Instead, it was within the body of the next, the wick was within the body of the next candle. So as this one continued on, the wicks were still within the bodies of and this one didn't wick way down here, right? If this one wick way down here, then you're going to start looking at something else, right? But it didn't do that, right? So these 3 candles are just basically considered one big candle against this red candle. So that is overshadowing this candle right here. So that being considered, I'm going to be looking at this to be my order block, or my bullish order block. So around this area is where I would be, and as you can see, it's riding along the bottom of these candles. So once it got above it and it came back down into this order block, right, it started moving back up, because again, that's your last down push, right? It's holding that sell. It gets above it too quickly, and now it's waiting for it to get back down to that area so it can let go of that sell. I can do these kind of things all night long, right? To where the institutions do this. So now that it gets back up here, it releases the sell. It releases the buy that they were in over here, right? What do? They sell, right? And they sell back into this area to where they last pushed down and bought, right? And it's a circular motion all the time, and you just have to find out where they are. So now the question is, why did this one start going down? Well, it's because, guess what? Here is where your last up push is. You have this big candle right here. But then again, this is a 4-hour block. So what we can do is we can actually get down into the 1 hour and find out exactly where that last push up was. So yeah, I guess it was kind of down here, but still this is all one big candle. And considering this is all one big candle, you do not want it to get within 50% of the full candle, right? You do not want it to get above 50%. If it does, then it's going to probably continue going back up. I have another, there we go. So if we go from body to body, right, in this full candle, here is that 50%, right? It didn't even get near that. It only got 20% into that candle, right? And then started dropping. So this is still within the confines of the order block, or the bearish breaker, or a bearish order block, either or. I guess it would be a breaker if it would actually just hit this right here and started retracing. But considering there is few candles here that are stuck together, right? This would be your bearish order block. So that's why when it came up in here, it started selling, right? And now guess what? I'm going to guess that since this happened, right? Boom, right? It goes down. As you can see the next candle, you can see it start. As it switches over, goes down. It probably comes back up and wicks up into this 8. Still, it's climbing back up. And where does it climb back up into? Above the 62.5, up almost near the 70. So again, it gets back into that golden zone of sell zone, right, to where it wants to sell. Right, so whenever you see these kind of things, that's what you're going to look for, right? Because whenever it retraces to these areas, right? So now it starts to sell off. Now the question is it going to buy back? Yeah. Where's it going to start buying back from? That is a good question, because I don't really see a good order block over here, because these have wicked outside of each other's body. See these wicks here? These wicks are way outside of the body, so you have a lot of movement, up and down movement over here. So you don't have anything solid for this to look to, but maybe we do if we look in a little bit closer, right? Let's get down to the 15-minute. Let's see if we can find out something a little bit better. Because you have boom. Okay. See, here's what I'm talking about. This wick down here, not helping. So your really last down push before your up candle is going to be within this wick right here, right? So I'm thinking Ethereum is going to drop at least down to 1129, 1130. But it could stay, it could get up higher, you know. I'm not a magician, I don't know everything. Maybe if I get under the 5-minute, we'll find something else. That's why I love looking at different aspects of all different kinds of the market, you know, try to find out where it's at. See, what it did is it created a double bottom just now. This is amazing. So whenever you see this, don't think this is support ever. Right? It just created this. So right here, people are thinking one specific thing, right? Support, right? It's at support. It's going to start buying. Buy, 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 buy. That's not what I see. You know, I see liquidity. I see everybody buying in this area, having their stop losses set right here at this support, thinking it can't get below this, thinking this is solid ground, right? That this isn't, there's nothing that can bust through this because another line hit it, right? This line hit it here, this line hit it here. Oh, this is support, right? If you look over here, there may be some other areas that could, you know, possibly give it support as well. I'm not falling for that. It's going to go right through this, Definitely going to go right through this. Why? Because it's going to trip people, and it's probably going to pull back as soon as it does. Because it's going to trip people into their stop loss, or to their buy stops, right? So people will have a short position set right at this level, right? If not, maybe just a little bit into it, right? And then they're going to have a stop loss, very, very short stop loss, because what they're going to think is they think it's going to blow through this, right? And then it's going to come back. Illustrate it a little bit better. I think it's going to blow through this, right? Stop, come back, right? And touch it as a resistance, right? And then continue going on. That's what your typical retail trader is going to think, right? Or it's going to be the opposite way around. Dang it. To where they think it's going to start buying right here, right? And if anything, it could come back down here and touch this as support. Ugh. Touch this as support and then keep going, right? And it's going to keep going. So those are your two scenarios to which typical, let's say typical, your, I guess like you should say your dumb money plays in. I wish it would not always do that to me. I don't know how to get that off of there. But here is what your other money is going to do. Your other money is going to do this. Right? They're going to start buying in, right, as soon as it gets close. And then they're going to have their stop loss set right here. Right? Right at the, you know, the bottom of this, maybe just a little bit lower, but not too much lower. And what you're probably see going to happen, right, is that you could see this and everybody's going to start buying, think it's going to go higher because it hit support, right? And it's probably going to hit somewhere right along in here. And it's going to start going back this way, and it's going to go down below here, and it's going to trigger those buy stops. It's going to pull back, right, and then get above here and trigger that, and then probably keep going down until it hits. And this is one thing I'm still trying to figure out. Where is it going to hit? It could honestly hit that, turn around, and then go back up. Because I'm seeing this right here. And this could honestly be the saving nature of Ethereum right here. Not the saving nature, but the yeah, I'm thinking that's what it is. Because you do have, even though this has a wick on it, right? You do see the body go into this body right here, right? And then push down, right? Or it could have wicked up a little bit and then pushed down, but most of the volume is in the bottom of this candle, right? So wicked up, it pushed down, right? Closed right here, and as soon as it closed right here, boom, it took off. So there's a big push down right here. The displacement is right here. So this is your bullish order block that you're looking for right here. So this is what I would be looking for. This to be the fake out buy, right? Go down here and then trick out the people that are setting the sell stops that are thinking it's going to go longer, right? And it's not going to get that much longer into it. It's probably, what did it do? Right, it's only going to get down to about 1142, I think now, to be honest, now that I've actually taken a look at this. Maybe even a little bit lower. It could get down to 1150, you know, but I think it would probably get higher than that just because it doesn't want to have the people that are having the sell stops, doesn't, you know, it doesn't want to allow them to be able to move their money out too quickly, I guess you could say, to cash out. So it'll probably jump in here into this liquidity pool, right, to where everybody has their sell stops, right? Everybody was chasing that buy just then. Did you see that? That's what I was saying. It's that fake buy. So it did, and that's what that wick was right there, right? Everybody was thinking it hit the bottom. Boom, it made that big wick up, right? We're done with it. Nope. It's going to keep going down, and it's going to sell right through this. It's probably going to hit this order block right here and then go back the other way, right? And I'm just bullish on Ethereum in general, but I'm also looking at this at a smart money perspective. trying to figure out where it's going to go. I don't think it's going to get down into these areas here. There's really not a whole lot of formation happening down here. I mean, you do have you've got a big wick right here. You have this, but you do have this big displacement. But you have this little wick right here, and that's about it. And you have this wick, and it, you know, kind of teeters, and then it goes up. So I wouldn't consider this any kind of order block or any kind of substantive area other than the liquidity below it. And unless there's an equal low, which there's not, then this is basically product of this guy right here. So that's why it's staying above there, because it's coming down to this order block area here. This last down push before it goes up. So it's seeing that last down push, it comes down, touches that last down push, and then stays above that, right? And then here it finally makes, this is where it's the bold move. You got the solid red candle. That's what you look for. You look for solid candles, right? And then you have 3 solid candles up. Boom, 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 right? And then just below that is the solid red candle down. So this is definitely my point of interest right here. So I am going to make a little ellipse out of that. That's your point of interest. I want to see if that's what's going to happen with Ethereum, but I'm going to say about 99% chance that's probably what's going to happen. All right, I'm going to check on my live stream, see how it's going. All right, making sure not having any issues. Looks like we are not. Okay. Perfect. All right, so that being said, let's check out Bitcoin. I haven't checked out Bitcoin yet. I had it in Bitfinex, okay? Because I wanted to look at this from a clean slate, right? So and I know I don't have Bitcoin on a clean slate, and I think it's Coinbase. I think the Coinbase version that I have of Bitcoin is completely marked up with all kinds of stuff. So if you are a smart money trader, things that we don't use, or at least I don't use, are any kind of indicators. Don't use moving averages. Don't use trend lines. Don't use channels. Don't use harmonics. Don't use Elliott wave. All that stuff is just, it's very, very, I guess, psychoactive. It can make you think things that are there that aren't actually there, right? Whenever you're thinking in a smart money sense, and you know, in an institutional way, whenever you're thinking about institutions being in this game, you have to think about what they're looking for, right? And how they are going to play the game, and what they are doing in it at the time, how big their pocketbooks are, right? Because they're the ones that can control basically anything, right? And with Bitcoin being, you know, definitely institutionalized, with, you know, all the different companies putting their you know, reserves into Bitcoin, it's definitely become an institutionalized asset. So that being said, you're going to find institutional moves, and you're going to be able to spot these things, right? So if we look at the 4-hour, I mean, it's just amazing how much it's come. You know, $3,000 at the beginning of the year, you know, whenever COVID happened, to, you know, for 4,000. I wish I would have just had the, I mean, right then I had the money to do it, and I could have bought at least a Bitcoin, but you know, I didn't see the, I didn't foresee the future, and unfortunately, you know, I had put money in Bitcoin, but not as much as I should have. That's for sure. I traded it a lot. That's what I did. I used MetaTrader 4. And if you don't know what MetaTrader 4 is, you know, especially for crypto people, what you probably understand is, you know, Bitstamp and, you know, Bitfinex and, you know, Kraken and you know, KuCoin and all these other things. I'm not too familiar with all these. I do know that one of them does allow you to trade futures, which is cool. But with MetaTrader 4, what it does is that you do have a broker, right? You have to have a broker that has crypto, so you got to find the right broker. And then what it allows you to do is it allows you to trade small contracts. So it's basically like infinite futures without limits, futures that doesn't have a strike price. All you have is a, you know, a bid and ask price, and that's it. You know, you have a spread, and you know, spread's fairly big, you know, depending on what asset you're using, you know, but like, you know, you can trade very small amounts. You can have an account of $100, throw in a 10-cent lot, right? And then if you throw in a 10-cent lot, every dollar that Ethereum makes, you'll make a dollar too. So I think there was one night I knew Ethereum was just going to go up, and I just hit buy on, you know, my my MetaTrader. I didn't put a stop loss. I should have put a stop loss. That could have really endangered me. I didn't put a stop loss, and I just woke up the next morning and it was $35 in the green. So I was just like, close. And honestly, I should have left. Excuse me. Sorry about that. So sorry about that. I should have left it on, because it ended up going up $100 that day. It was the day after the big fall, you know, or no, I think it was the day before the big fall. I think it had dipped a little bit, and then I was like, oh, it's gonna keep going up. So I bought it, and then like the next day it was like the big crash, you know, last Sunday or whatever. But you know, it is what it is. But yeah, you know, for anybody that's out there that's listening to this that is interested in crypto, I would suggest that you get the MetaTrader 4 app. Try to find a broker that does have crypto. I know Hugosway is one of them. I know Xcoin is one of them. I think there's some others like Awanda. Geez, I can't think of the others, but there's some others out there. You'd have to do some research. It's not too hard. You can just probably Google, brokers with, crypto, for MetaTrader 4, and you'll be able to find them. Most of them don't require that much to start an account. I know with Hugosway, it's only, I think it's only like $50 that you have to start with an account. You can transfer money in with Bitcoin, so it's super fast, super easy to transfer money in. What you have to do is purchase the Bitcoin, then send it to their specific wallet, and then it shows up in your account, and then you start trading with it. It's really that simple. I know that MogaFX is one of them too. They're more on the Forex side. They also deal in metals and natural gas, but they do have Bitcoin as an asset that you can trade as well, if you just want to trade Bitcoin. But I would not suggest trading Bitcoin unless you can learn and really understand, at least the basic concepts of technical analysis. But even then, really understand the smart money analysis of this, and you can do a lot better, because then you'll know exactly, you won't know exactly, but you'll get a good idea of where everything is trying to go. So that being said, let's head on over and let's see the institutional moves that Bitcoin had, right? So here's the thing with Bitcoin is that I do want to say, even though this was balanced, you want to find the most recently unbalanced area, right? And that be the bottom of your fib. Like I said, if you're trying to catch the drop, right? You're trying to catch the drop. If you know 40,000 is going to be the drop or whatever, if, you know, 42, right? And you get the drop and you think you're going to be one of those people that's going to, you know, sell and then buy, you're more than likely by the time you get to the point to sell, it's going to already be at the bottom. So don't try to be one of those people. Instead, just wait and try to find the buy, right? The best way to find the buy is knowing that it's probably going to be, so why did this just show up? It's probably going to be somewhere in between, you know, the 62% and the 79% retracement area of the last, you know, unbalanced area, right, of the Fibonacci. So I'm thinking that this is balanced here. You know, it comes up, pulls down, you know, goes straight, goes across. We have a little pull up, and then right here is the area where it starts to become a little bit unbalanced, right? Because then it pushes down and then boom, it goes up. So this is the last kind of unbalanced area. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to place a Fibonacci on the bottom of here. I know magnet mode is on. Jeez, I hate it when it does that. I'm going to place this at the top. What I tell you, every time it did this to Ethereum, it did this to Bitcoin. 70.5% almost every time. This is why you have your Fibonacci set up this way, right? 62, 70.5, and 0.79. If it gets to 0.79, more than likely you're gonna have a huge reaction from that, and it's probably gonna go up even higher, right? You know, but 0.75 had a pretty decent reaction, right? If it gets to your 62, it's gonna have a little bit slighter reaction, right? So just depends on how deep it gets and how far it gets. Is gonna depend on how big the reaction is going to be. So 70.5 nails it almost perfectly. If I look at the low of this, right, the low of this is with 306.35 even, right? Am I looking at that right? 306.35 even. 70.5 is 306.11. So it's only $20 something off. I mean, and then right now you have to really stretch it out to even see that there's even a little bit of a gap there, right? So that's why we always, I mean, so you're not going to place your you know, your buy limit here because it wouldn't have reached it, right? That's why we always teach people to at least set it to 62, right? Set it to 62, and then your stop loss, well, generally below 100, but since this is Bitcoin, you may want to take a little bit more extra precaution. I would probably understand that it is going to get, you know, to 75, you know, enter at 65 and then exit at around, you know, 79, something like that would be where I would put my limit. So if I were to put a long to try to catch this bottom, I would start at around 65%, which would probably be somewhere around in here, right? And then I would put here as my bottom, right? And understand that more than likely I have the potential to go as high as I could, right? So that's how you try to catch those bottoms, right? Again, Fibonacci, it's not, you know, it's not always the answer. It's not the magic of the Fibonacci. It's actually what happens on the left side of the chart, right? So it's something in here, right? And it sets it up perfectly for it to be the 70.5, right? Because since smart money is at play, it's all kind of algorithmic, right? It's not as it seems. I understand Bitcoin is a public ledger, and you know, whatever people you know, however much people put money into it, and you know, there's a cap and things like that. But I cannot tell you how many times that I've seen Bitcoin and Ethereum and Litecoin and Ripple, even trying to think of some of the others that have done this. You know, Bitcoin Cash, even. I'm gonna try to check out Link to see if it does it, because you know, it's a kind of a byproduct of Ethereum. You know, I've seen those institutional moves, right? So these are starting to become and look like, you know, things, you know, of the institution. So like I said, if you want to compare it to something, right? If we want to compare it to something that was, yeah, is institutional, last thing I did was, you know, US 100. Let's see if we can't find something institutional in the SPX. So let's get rid of all this jargon here. And this is the S&P, right? And let's see if we can't find something similar in the S&P that we would have found in, you know, in something like Bitcoin. So let's see here. To last down up move. Let me see. Look at this. Look at this big liquidity run. Big liquidity run, walling off everything. So here, does that beat the next high, or is it this part? I think it's this part that beats the next high, but this goes below it. Can't work. Trying to find a really good example. I'm seeing a couple. I'm just trying to figure out which one to use. All right, so this would be our last kind of down push area right here. All right, so if we're looking to go and we're trying to catch this bottom, right? Dang it, that falls. Come on now. All right, I'm just gonna adjust it later. This is one thing I hate about the magnet. It just it hates me sometimes. So if we were looking at this, let me pull this up here. Boom. See? Exactly. Almost to that 70.5 to a T. See, whenever I was looking at that, I saw that right away, but I just didn't know if I wanted to use that as the example or not. But I was like, you know what, I probably should. So again, if you're trying to, yeah, and this happened in GBP USD recently too, something very, very similar to where it just kind of took off. And whenever I see that, and I see that unbalanced, and I'm like, okay, I know that this is the bottom now. And so now you just got to wait for it to form the top. And then whenever it starts falling, right, instead of trying to sell and then, you know, catch the falling knife, you prepare for when the knife is going to drop, or for when the knife is going to stop, right? So instead of chasing the sell, right, like most people do, like new traders, they'll chase the sell and they'll chase it until it's way down here, and then as soon as they sell, boom, it goes back up, right? So instead of doing that, prepare yourself for the takeoff, right? And this is how you prepare yourself for the takeoff, right? You wait for it to fall and get to that 70.5 level. Again, you know, we always try to tell people to enter at the 662. That way you know you're in the entry, right? That way you know that you're in this trade, and make sure you put your stop loss. We always tell people at least below the 100%, just to be sure. It shouldn't get below the 100%, because if it does, it's probably going to get lower. But then again, sometimes that can be a lot larger risk than what most people are willing to take. And if that's the case, put it down below the 80, right? Because what's the worst that could happen is that it could still spike through, right? Because you see this low right here, that could be providing liquidity for this to want to run through it, but then it's going to hit these order blocks right here and then go back the other way. So I would pull it back down till about right here. That way you don't have to pull it back all the way down to the 100, right? That way you're entered into this trade, and then boom, takes off, right? And then what does it do? And this is why I have my extensions set the way they are, because look at it hits those extensions exactly. 127%, pulls back, comes back up, 127%. Oh, now it's 150%, and then pulls back. So, you know, and I just randomly drew this, right, and it's hitting every single level that I have on my Fibonacci, right? So you can't tell me that this is just by luck, right? No, this is all algorithmic. This is all by design. This is all what they do. This is the institutions, right, that are taking control of these markets and playing you, right? And they're playing you not only in the S&P 500, but they're playing you in Bitcoin as well. They're doing the same thing, right? So, like I said, with Ethereum, right? Where's the last up move before it goes down? Right here. What happens? Drops down, comes up, right back down to that up move. Now, what I also want to check out to see is if this area is within that 70.5 range or 80 range. Actually a little higher, which is, I'm surprised, but it makes sense. Even if I pulled it up here, yeah. So but then again, that's not, you know, that's not like the huge going up, you know, and you're trying to catch the top of it, you know. So if it was going to make equal highs or something like that, then again, that wouldn't make sense anyway. But you know, I think you understand exactly what I'm trying to say, or at least I hope so. Let me check live stream, see how it's doing. What is resistance now on Bitcoin? Sorry, Juan Carlos. I will try to get. You know, this is the way I have to look at people's comments. So I'll try to get to people as soon as I can. So thanks for checking out, Juan Carlos. What is the resistance on Bitcoin? Good question. You know, honestly, at 20,000. It should not get below 20,000 at all, right? So I don't believe in channels. I don't believe in trend lines or anything like that. I just believe in price levels and price action. If Bitcoin is going to be what it should be, and it's, you know, it should not ever get below 20,000 ever again. What do I? Because, you know, the thing with resistance and wait, you saying resistance or support? Sorry, I forgot. I wasn't reading that rightly. Oh, resistance. Okay, resistance. So what is resistance on Bitcoin? I mean, currently resistance on Bitcoin is definitely you know, 42. You know, once it gets back up here, it's gonna have another hard shot, you know, at getting above 42. But third time's a charm. Once it gets back up here the third time, it's going to break through, right? So 42 is definitely resistance for Bitcoin, right? So, and the reason it dropped at 40, right, is because of the bearish order block, right? So if you want to know what resistance is, it's definitely at the top here, right? And I don't know anybody else who would argue with me. You know, 42 is definitely resistance. I don't think 40 is resistance, right? You know, because it's probably going to get above 40 and then hover around it a couple times, you know, and you know, go around here. But you know, it'll probably touch this 42 or this high that it has right now a couple times, and there's going to be one time it's going to come to it, and everybody's going to think it's going to fall again, and it's just going to blow right through it, right? But I mean, the question is now is what is Bitcoin going to do now, right? So if it, you know, in the last couple hours, it did fall, right? Now it doesn't have that kind of same look that Ethereum did, right? To where it had those equal lows, right? To where it could kind of jot down and then go back up. It doesn't have that look at all. So let me get into the 1 hour here. Let's see what we can see on Bitcoin. I mean, the good thing is I mean, it looks bullish, but the problem is that it's not beating these highs. So we are seeing it come to these, you know, another bearish order block here. And it's coming up to it, right? And then that's causing it to be pushed down as well. So again, that last down up push, and that's what you're always looking for. So it comes up to that, and then boom, sells off, right? Now, question is there going to be an up down push over here somewhere? The thing is, I'm not seeing anything that's striking my fancy that's saying, hey, wait, this could actually, well, it could be these guys here, but maybe not so much. I mean, there is this displacement candle here, right? And you got all these guys, and you got the wicks, and then boom, it finally gets above it. So then coming back down to it, it bounces, goes up. So this right here could have been it, I think. Because when you see it wick like that and then bust through it, right, it creates a breaker, right? So what I mean by breaker, that's the breaker there. So whenever you see something like this with a wick, a huge candle just blast through it, what happens is that it creates a price imbalance, right? So now there's an imbalance between, right, so here and this down here. So meaning that basically there's a gap, right? So it's almost as if there's no candle here at all. So eventually it's going to come back down to it and fill that gap. But once it gets back down to it and fills that gap, boom, it's done, right? And it's going to go the other way. So now that we have filled that gap within the last day, I think we're going to be bullish on Bitcoin again. Looks like we came down. Let me get down to the 15 minutes of it, and let's see if we got some good positive news. I don't like these wicks down here. One thing I don't like. Because what you have is oh yeah, you know what? We're actually looking pretty good, because these two candles, you got these solid candles. These are some pretty solid red candles here. You could say that they are the same candle, right? Since their wicks do not grow outside of each other, right? And you may have you may not have that big of a takeoff, but once it does get outside of this zone, then boom, you do have this candle here. So that is the good thing. So you have boom, this down here. So this is kind of your bearish order block, or bullish order block, I should say. And it takes a while for these guys to get momentum, but once it does, boom, take off, right? And then once it gets back down into this area, dips into it, dumps back out. So now the thing is, I'm looking at this underneath. And I'm wondering about this. I really don't think this is going to cause too much. But it's that strong. I do still think this is bullish. You know, even though we had that drop today. Again, that drop happened at what time? 9 this morning, at the exact time that the dollar was reaching a real high, right? When, you know, everybody's selling out. They're selling out. They're selling out. They're making the dollar go up, right? So that's one thing you also have to watch for. Watch for the dollar, because the dollar will tell you if, you know, especially if Bitcoin's moving. People are taking their money out of Bitcoin because then they're transferring it to the dollar. They're putting it back in the bank. So it looks like it did kind of get underneath here, underneath this bearish order block. I don't think it's going to fall too much. Maybe come back up. So sometimes whenever you start doing this, you kind of get locked into, you know, what I'm doing, these pattern finding, not really pattern findings, but, you know, understanding that, oh, okay, there's an order block there. It's going to hit that. Now, where is it going to retrace to? I don't know. And so you keep trying to find new ones, right? And try to, you know, but what you really need to look for is liquidity, right? Liquidity is what it ultimately seeks, right? So, I don't know what I just hit, but don't think it did anything. It looks like these here earlier this morning, right? It looks like these kind of were seeking out liquidity. This is what kind of scares me, though, is that it didn't actually achieve it, right? So liquidity would mean getting below this area right here, right? Because people would see, get out of my way. People would see this right here as support, correct? Wouldn't you see that as support? Let me double click this, and because I got to do some changes to this, make this a little bit brighter. When you see this as support, great. YouTube is not maintaining enough. My Wi-Fi changed. It did. Give me 1 second. There we go. All right. My Wi-Fi changed. I think that's what was going on. Are we back? I think we're back. We're back. Okay, yes. All right. It's showing that my Wi-Fi is back to go. Okay. Sorry about that, guys. Sorry about that. My Wi-Fi just decided to change to another Wi-Fi really quick. So I had to change it so the video could be better. Anyways, where we were at on Bitcoin, like I said, right here is where you would consider, right, this to be your liquidity, right? And the problem is it didn't reach it. Where did this go? Okay, there we go. Jeez, I had no idea what's going on my internet. All right. So the problem is that it didn't reach it. It didn't get below it. So this is one thing that has me a little bit worried. we could see Bitcoin try to get below this, right? Dip into this liquidity, right? To where people have, you know, buy limits set right through here, stop losses set just below here, things like that, because they see this as support, right? And then smart money will buy through it, or sell through it, I should say. Right? If they're going to sell through it, what are we looking for? The last down up. Boom. Big solid candle right here. This is what I love to see. That is your last down push. You got a little bit of one down here, but it's only because it's a little spiky. So even though this pushes down really hard, this kind of goes crazy for a second, for a good 15 minutes, and then finally takes off. So personally, I think this is what is going to happen to Bitcoin. And it's very similar to what I think is going to happen to Ethereum. Very similar. So we got Ethereum buying right now. Right? And again, this is that phase to where I think people are getting, you know, oh, it hit support. It's buying, it's buying, it's buying. Everybody buy, buy, buy. And then this is where I think the bad news is going to happen, and it's going to come down and then hit this and then finally buy. So as you can see, it's dropping pretty quickly right now. And Bitcoin, I think, is going to eventually do the same. Let me get rid of these. So again, instead of having that, you know, that support liquidity area that's clearly drawn out for Ethereum, right? And then you have the bullish order block right just below it, right, to save it. You don't really have that kind of clearly drawn out with Bitcoin. Instead, what you do have is it looks like you have it reaching for the liquidity, but it looks like there was some order blocks in the way that kind of made it retrace, right? Or it could have been the dollar. It could have been, you know, people seeing that it was getting low, right? Buying Bitcoin back up, who knows? But it's going to be seeking that liquidity either way, right? So it's going to be seeking this. I think it's going to get below this, hit this area here in between, you know, 33.2, 33.5, somewhere in between there before it takes off again. So let me just draw a little path here. So you could see it meander its way whenever it does get down here, and then take off. That's just my 2 cents. I think whenever it does, especially get down to this area right here, what's going to happen, it's actually going to kind of give it a little kaboom, right? It's going to give it a little here. It's going to bounce up a little bit, right? And make people think it's going to buy. And then it's going to pull down really hard. Just the same way I think is going to happen with Ethereum, right? Who knows? Ethereum, it may not come back down. I've seen this happen many times too before. But I'm just saying be prepared if it does, basically. You know. Because if you do have a buy limit set, you know, somewhere in this area, because I think this is going to be, you know, where the area that is possibly going to come back to. All right, Cardano. I want to check out Cardano because I think we've had, even though it's very low, it's still within the Ethereum family, and I think we do have some Oh, sorry about that. We do have some institutional moves in Cardano, believe it or not. Do you believe in institutional moves in Cardano? Do you? Do you really? Are you sure about that? Let me check the live again, see if anybody's got any questions. No? Or if you got any questions, please throw them up there. All right, so we're going to check Cardano. And fib retracement. I see it right here. You see this, like I was talking about? Where it goes down and then boom, it takes off. Right here it is. So there's the bottom. We're going to go to the top. Where does it retrace to? Almost the 70.5. How many times do I have to say it? It's just, I mean, it's too easy. Isn't it too easy? It's too easy. It's too easy to just, it's just right there in front of your face. 70.5 every time. Or at least close. So again, set your buy limit right around here, 62. If you want to, you know, if you really want to get in there and understand that it's going to get to this, the 70.5, and let's say you want to set yourself at the the 65, you know, there you put your buy limit at 65, you know, set up your Fibonacci the way you want to, you know, that way you can get in there at that perfect time. You know, go back and back check, you know, make sure it hits the 65 every time. But yeah, but again, usually over to the left of the chart, there's always something that's causing that too. As you can see, there is a bullish order block right here. That last down push before the up push, right? Comes right back down to it and takes off. It just happens to be right at the 70.5. Just crazy how it does it every time. And even then, I mean, some people would tell me probably to put it here, right? So, or actually that doesn't work. It'd actually have to be higher for it to be there. But I mean, I guess I could put this lower, and that doesn't get it there either. So I don't know. Where does it actually get into the 70.5 at? Right there. But if I went here, it doesn't either. So trying to see if there's a way to touch it exactly, but it's not going to. But it's close enough. I mean, geez. I mean, what is the actual difference of that? From 70.5 to here. 2%. Crazy. So, as you can tell, there's an institutional move happening in Cardano, even though it's at a very, very, very minimal amount. I wish my trading view, or not my trading view, but my broker on MT4 carried Cardano, because I would definitely trade it. Looks like a fun one to trade. So, anyways, this is going back to, again, the whole, you know, November kind of situation. Cardano really didn't take off during the November. It actually took off at the beginning of this year. I think Cardano has definitely got some upside to it. Even though it's built on, you know, the whole Ethernet system, or the Ether system. And sorry for smoking on my channel. It's my channel. I can do whatever I want. So, all right. Now that we know that Cardano has a institutional, you know, institutional sell in there, what I also want to show you is that it probably also had the institutional sell for the drop into it. Yep. almost all of these come right back up into the 80%. Boom, before they drop right into that, you know, the 71, almost the 71, before they head back up, right? So this is a key play every single time. Every single one has done this move. Every one I've checked, Ethereum, Bitcoin, Cardano, they've all done the same exact thing. And this is normal. This happens in a lot of different asset classes. Again, I could probably show you where it happens, you know, in the SPX as well. But I'm not going through because I'm sure you don't want to hear about that. We were here to talk about a Cardano, right? So now that we know Cardano has had that kind of institutional move, where does it go to from here? Well, it looks like it came down, even though this wicked. Looks like it had this solid movement, then pulled back up, came back down. So here was your last push. And since here was your last push, each time it got into that, it kind of got kicked out. Every time it came down to that, boom, this last time, boom, got kicked out. Now the question is, where is it looking for liquidity? I think the liquidity for Cardano is above. Right? You have all of these equal highs right here. Right? And I think this is what it's going to be searching for. It's going to be seeking out these equal highs right here. So that being said, I'm going to draw a trend line. As far over is here. Now, I don't think Cardano is going to go down anymore to try to get back up. I think Cardano is going to come up here, probably touch this line, make everybody think it's going to sell, right? And then, as you can see over here, you have these two bullish or two bearish full volume blocks, you could say, full volume candles. Gonna drop just ever so slightly, hit those, and then come back up through it, and then make a new high. I think it's exactly what Cardano is going to do. So I wouldn't be surprised if we wake up tomorrow morning, right, and we notice that Cardano has either hit this high, right, and everybody thinks it's not going to break it, right, and it falls down, and then it comes back up. And actually, I want to leave this here, right, just so people can see. Or maybe share it as a idea. Maybe I should share it as an idea. Yeah, I'll do that afterwards, so I don't bore you guys with sharing me with ideas. Next one I wanted to check out was actually going to be Link. It's not showing up in here. Showed my other one. And all the other ones I've been using have been Bitfinex, so I'm going to use that one as well. Well, I just search for it in here. I've just been trying to be consistent with the provider, the exchange, full featured chart. So everybody keeps talking about Link, right? Everybody keeps talking about Link and how it's about to break its new high. right. Let me see what I can find in this guy. Since it's in its early stages, it's going to be kind of rough. But I do think there's some institutions in here in this. Here we go. Right here it is. It does kind of come back and rebalance though before it takes off. But I think that is the winner. And then boom, catching the drop. What does it do? Boom, right to the 70.5. Every time. Every time. I get so to you, all of you, see, I'm more of a Forex trader, right? So this is a lesson to the crypto people. Try to understand a little bit more about technical analysis when it comes to smart money. Understand what it wants to do, right? And the reason being why it wants to come back down into this area. Why does it want to have this big of a retracement? Is so it can buy at a discounted price, right? So if it missed this first move, right, that they were all in on, right, the institutions, and say, well, we faked out the sell here. So again, just to illustrate, they all went in a short position here, right? And since they went on a short position, just to give themselves enough room, right? Enough room that way they could get in on the best position that they could, right? And then take this all the way up. And they're still riding this, right? I mean, it is up into 150 now. So whenever they took that little bit and they pushed that short position down to get that better position, right? I don't even know how much of a percentage that was, but we can check that out right now. Well, let's do ruler. %, right? So to get an extra 4%, right? They pushed it down, and then they waited till it came back down to the area to where they first dropped the money to push it down. And then once they do that, hold on. And then once they do that, what do? Release this trade, right? Because there's no more use for it. They've already broke even on that trade to where they first dropped the money to push it down, right? Then they buy. It comes back down to that area, right? And then they release the trade. And now they're just riding it all the way up. Well, first they knew it was going to hit here, right? Or wherever they knew it was going to hit, they knew it was going to drop right down to here. And then they put in a second buy position. Probably right at the 6.8. And then they're enjoying position number 2. And then that's how the criminals work. That's how the institutions work. That's how they take your money. because they want you to get scared whenever it's falling to sell, and then they know exactly when to buy up. And they know exactly where it's going to go, because it usually goes to these percentages of the Fibonacci, right? 27, 50, 62, right? So again, that's what it did. It even had trouble getting through the 27. But then once it got through the 27, finally got up to 150%. And they have just been racking in all this money on these trades. Because of all the smart money setups that are in here. It's just ridiculous how many smart money setups you can find. All you have to do is look at it. Once you've been paying attention long enough, you see it. Right? So let's just go to gold for instance, right? And in gold, you can see it as well. So let's see here. Gold was ridiculous on the drop. This drop here. Right? And so what you'd actually have to do to understand what happened on this gold drop. Right? So you had, first of all, this other high, right? We knew it was coming toward this high. And I don't think anybody thought it was going to break it. For one, it had bearish order block. So it had this, right? What I was talking about previously with Bitcoin and Ethereum. Had the bearish order block. So what does it do? It goes up inside the bearish order block, but it doesn't get to the high. And actually, I want to get down into the 15 minutes of this and show you exactly what happened, because it's kind of astounding. So actually, it may be the 5 minutes that you see it. Yep. Yeah, kinda. Not as good as you can see it on MetaTrader 4. But either way. Anyways, this is what we call a turtle soup. So this is the fake out, right? So it jumps up. Looks like it's going to try to break the high. Instead, it falls down, right? At the same time, well, I wouldn't do that. Yeah, horizontal array, I guess. Right underneath here, right? So that's that last push up. Or okay, it was the last. Here was the last push up, right? Last push up before the push down was this green candle here. If you can see it. I mean, just look at that. The body of the green candle. Now it was the last, because that's where the volume is, right? That's where the volume of the smart money is. Whenever it has that umph, that boom, that last push up, right? Not going to matter about the wicks or anything else. It's going to be that last, because I mean, it could have came up to here and the bodies could have came up to here. It didn't matter. It was about where the last push up of the body was before, you know, it starts coming down. So last push up, and then what also happened, fib retracement, It's just stupid how many times it happens. It comes down, boom, comes right back up. The 70.5 also equal to the last up push before the down push. And then what happens to gold? Boom. It just drops. And I know people that made millions off that. Just, I mean, it was just a stupid amount of money that people made off that drop. But, I mean, again, we had to get into the 5-minute chart to see that, right? So that's what I'm saying. Get into these smaller time frame charts, understand the fractals, understand what happens, because you will see these things, and then, you know, once you see these things, you can't unsee them, right? It's quite amazing, to be honest. So buy? No? Okay. Anyways, I think I am done here trying to explain what the differences are. You know, what is smart money, how to look for it in the crypto market. Fairly easy, to be honest. Very awesome thing to know about once you finally get the hang of it, and you know what to look for. Again, liquidity is number one. You know, always look for liquidity, equal highs, equal lows, things like that. It's going to try to break those, right? Because it's going to try to, those are going to be the areas of where the stop losses and, you know, the stop losses and, well, not stop losses, but, you know, sell limits, buy limits, buy stops, sell stops. And also a lot of people that don't have a lot of money are gonna, you know, think that they're slick and that they're gonna put a short stop loss on it. You know, that's what they're gonna do, and you know, those kind of moves take them out of the game, right? You know, actually, before we go, well, actually, let me look at it really quick, see if I do have an update on it, but no, Ethereum is still slightly dropping, so, you know, we may have to take a look at that in the morning and see how it's going. Bitcoin still kind of in the same area. Chainlink looks like it's finally retracing from its 150%. And then Cardano, still moving upward. I think I'm going to put this as a as a an idea. So anyways, I am going to be done here. Thanks for checking it out. Always your friend Ted, and love you guys. Peace out, and remember to wear your pants. I think I have to hit actually end video over here. I think I hit end video on my stream, but I forgot to put it on the